purpose of this panel is to kind of better understand impact. So we got an overview from the county, but then there are different agencies within the county, and then there are regional agencies like BART, who was supposed to be here, but they're not here. Contra Costa Fire District, Health Rate 360, which is a nonprofit that is supported by the county to specifically work with the reentry population, those who have been formerly incarcerated, he works for Lavon Martin, and I apologize for not having your nameplate there. And so we're just trying to understand the regional impact of homelessness and encampment. I know we've had the fire department come and talk to us about the increase of cost of services and some of those attributed to homeless. So we're just trying to better understand the impact overall. So with that, you each have about 5 to 7 minutes at the timer. I'm going to stop you because you have a strict timeline and you really have to ask questions. So we'll start with the fire department.
Good morning, it's a beautiful morning. My name is Terence, Carey. I'm Assistant Chief with Contra Costa County Fire. It's my privilege to be here, and thank you for the invitation. I'll stay within the time limits I promised, and I'm going to stay at the kind of a broader view. And if you want me to get specific, we can do that later. Contra Costa County Fire, besides fire and EMS response, we're also the contractor for the ambulance company that provides ambulance service to this community. So that means when an EMS call comes in, you'll get a fire engine or a fire resource as well as an ambulance. That is provided by our subcontractor, AMR. So that's our structure. The impact of the homelessness is we don't track calls by if somebody's a homeless individual, but just some anecdotal information. Talking to some of our companies that serve this community is in the calendar year 2018, we had 406 outside fires of various types. With the anecdotal, that's a fact, but the anecdotal portion will come in. It's about 390 of those is what our investigators attribute to homeless individuals. Again, that's an anecdotal statement. One of the impacts that our companies see in the responses is we have an encampment, for example, behind Kentucky Fried Chicken. And we'll get an uptick in calls in that area. And then when that encampment gets moved to, say, over to 6th Street, we'll notice the call volume will move in that direction. And then also there's in the Dow wetlands. There's an area over in there which, again, anecdotally between the Dow, I don't want to speak for Dow, but what we're hearing is between Dow and the homeless individuals, there's give and take back and forth, and there's been fires set in that area. One of the areas that's a real concern to us and the safety of our individuals is we're seeing that our companies, when you're going into these homeless camps, especially where you're in the wetlands and you really can't see where you're going, and you're pulling hoses in for rubbish fires or vegetation fires, is a large amount of human waste. And so our crews have to pay attention to that, also syringes and the like. And so that's something in the old days that we didn't really have to pay attention to. So we're decontaminating ourselves when we go back to the station. That's not unique to this community. We're seeing that in the industry when we talk to different fire agencies throughout the state that are experiencing similar types of problems. Other synergistic effects we see, for lack of a better term, is when you have somebody, you have an individual, and he's disabled, and he likes to position himself right on the freeway on-ramp. So what happens is he falls asleep in his chair, and so well-meaning citizens will call in and say we have a medical emergency. Well, the amount of resources, because of the location of that move for that call would be a fire engine, 2 fire engines, because for calls on a freeway, we always send 2 fire engines, one to deal with emergency and one what we call for blocking, is to protect ourselves from other traffic. you're getting 2 fire engines, you're getting an ambulance, you're getting Antioch PD, and then freeways, you get CHP. We can go to this individual multiple times a day. And, you know, I was talking to the company officer at Station 81 over here on 10th Street, and he goes, you know, we talk to him, we try to move him, get him into a shady spot, and have conversations with him. You really can't sit there and go, well, you know, I just get really tired sitting in my chair all day. And so they move him over to the shade, over to the top of Bell area, and then he'll make his way back over to the freeway on-ramp area where he can, you know, collect donations from citizens. So that's just an example of where you can see a large amount of our resources are drawn to. We do try to adjust. How do we solve this? We try to adjust when calls come in, they're processed to our dispatch center, and we try to send appropriate resources, and we've been able to, working through our regulator, Valencia, adjust some of the resources based on the call type that comes in. But generally, if it's an unknown, you're going to get the full amount of resources. Something else I want to close on my last minute, since Bart's not here. I don't want to represent Bart, but it's really not so much the Antioch area, but we see a large problem of homeless that are from outside the community that come into this area on, for example, Pittsburgh Bay Point, we call it end of line, at midnight, or a cold winter night. A lot of people, they'll come in, they're sleeping on the trains, RPD moves them off the train, and we'll end up with quite a few people who will say, hey, I'm having heart problems, etc. When in reality, they just want a hot and hot. You know, they just want somewhere to go at night, and we have to transport them per regulations because they have a medical emergency at the hospital. And that's a strain on our resources, which does affect this community because we're using resources in the Pittsburgh Bay Point area. We see, looking at our statistics for Pittsburgh Bay Point, we have 609 calls from January 18 through April 19. So what is that, 16 months, 609 calls at Pittsburgh Bay Point. Just the same time frame. Last statement would be in Antioch was 17 calls. So a large disparity, but again, it's a regional full of resources. Thank you.
Thank you.
So my name is Michael Fisher. I'm the program manager for the CORE Homeless Mobile Outreach here in Contra Costa County. CORE is for individuals who are experiencing homelessness here in Contra Costa, and our focus is primarily on the vulnerable population. Next slide. So this is what our core team looks like. CORE stands for Coordinated Outreach, Referral, and Engagement, and it's a program that works to stabilize homeless individuals living outside. A little bit about CORE. Prior to 2017, there was 2 service providers that were providing homeless outreach, and they were doing it primarily in the evening hours, and it was an emergency response to homelessness. So they were going into encampments and emergency situations and checking to see if people had potentially passed, and then placing them in shelter if they were vulnerable. So CORE comes on board in 2017. We now have grown to 10 teams countywide. We have 4 countywide teams, 2 that are operating during the daytime hours, and 2 that are operating in the evening hours. And then we have developed some partnerships. We have a team funded by the City of Walnut Creek and Concord, the state-funded Housing Disability Advocacy Program, a team funded by BART, a team funded by the City of Richmond and San Pablo, and a team funded by the County Public Works Department. So what is a day in the life of a street outreach worker? So an outreach worker can be anywhere from walking waterways to a county shelter, to encampments, to providing street medicine with the county's healthcare for the homeless department, to the Department of Motor Vehicles, to any of the medical centers located throughout Contra Costa County. And CORE really is focused on being the liaison between people who would not normally access homeless services and the homeless services and medical services that are provided here in Contra Costa. So there's really no magic formula for CORE. It's really about building partnerships and relationship with people, relationship with providers, and really helping people restore hope that have previously lost. Some of the partnerships that we work with include Healthcare for the Homeless, providing street medicine on Tuesdays Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. Behavioral health, mental health, and substance use providers, law enforcement, district attorney, public defenders, probation, legal aid, and CoCo Lead Plus, which is Antioch specific. Reentry network providers, faith-based organizations, adult protective services, and support services for domestic violence and trafficking victims, and more. So you heard a little bit about 2018 point in time count. We saw that 30% of the people that were experiencing homelessness during the point in time count were from the East County area. So CORE is really the boots on the ground providing services to those living in places not meant for habitation. A little bit about data. So in the city of Antioch, from July 2018 to May 20th, 2019, we made contact with 644 individuals living in the city of Antioch. And we actually made 1,735 contacts with those people. Next slide. Of the people we've made contact with, 84% were living in places not meant for habitation, and 68% admitted to having disabling conditions. So services that we provided in the city of Antioch were 114 people, or 15%, were placed in one of the emergency shelters located in Contra Costa County. 2,283 placements, or 38%, were placed in one of the warming centers here in Contra Costa County. 19% connected to mobile health care. 31% were connected to some health care or mental health care. 6% were provided animal services. 19% were connected with DMV services, and 65% were provided emergency supplies. One of our teams works for the county's public waterways department, and their job is building relationships with people living in the unincorporated waterways and assisting with trash mitigation. So from March of 2018, our teams actually removed 106,576 pounds of trash from the waterways. And this was individuals just taking their own trash up, putting them in bags, and us coordinating with a garbage removal company to get the trash removed. How do you access CORE? CORE is one of the 3 access points here in Contra Costa County in the coordinated entry system. So you can access the coordinated entry by walking into one of the local care centers, calling 211 from any phone within Contra Costa County, or CORE, which is the boots on the ground. So one success story, 2 minutes. All right, so this was a gentleman who we first made contact with in 2008. From 2008 till CORE came on board in 2017, he accessed 10 years of emergency room visits, inpatient admissions, ambulance services, mental health services, and substance use treatment. He actually accessed 32 different homeless service providers and 30 different police department in that 10-year, or every year in that 10-year period. CORE comes on board in 2017, placed him in a comfort shelter. He gets lost and intoxicated from the comfort shelter. We bring him back 4 different times. On the 4th time, he decided it was ready. He was ready to make a change. We did a housing application for him. We got him placed into housing. And he's successfully still living there. And he's been accessing this housing since June of 2018. Prior to CORE, he had accessed $17.7 million in county services. From the time he was placed into housing, he only accessed $5,000. So he went from $1.2 million per year to $5,000 in 1 year. So lessons learned, there's no one-size-fits-all approach to homelessness. It could be anybody in this room. Our job is bridging the gap in the different areas where there could be connection to services barriers. And we all have the same mission, which is providing a safe community, getting people into housing, and then making sure that everybody has the access to dignity and healthcare that they need.
You're done.
Hi everybody, my name is Weston. I'm the project manager for the CoCo Lead Plus program, which is a program of Health Rate 360. Health Rate 360 is the primary service provider and community-based partner for the CoCo Lead Plus project, which is a multi-sector partnership across the county, city of Antioch, and nonprofit organizations. So I'll do a brief overview of what CoCo Lead Plus Plus is. CoCo Lead Plus is a diversion program that operates under a grant funded by the state of California that will go through August of 2021. As I said earlier, it's a multi-sector partnership of Contra Costa County agencies, City of Antioch Police Department, and nonprofit organizations. Our program is based on the law enforcement assisted diversion model, which was originally piloted and instituted in Seattle, Washington. However, CoCo Plus expands upon the scope of the original project in Seattle, which was initially intended simply as a diversion program for drug and prostitution arrests. And Contra Costa County has expanded eligibility criteria to include other misdemeanors. We strive to divert people that have a history of behavioral health challenges and are repeatedly arrested for misdemeanors into supportive services, and we hope to address the underlying causes of recidivism. So the direct services are offered by CoCo Lead Plus. We offer diversion navigation, which is our term for intensive case management, peer support, CBT groups, restorative justice circles, workforce development, housing navigation, and master leased housing beds. Folks that are eligible for CoCo Lead Plus are adults that have behavioral health challenges who have a minimum of 2 misdemeanor arrests in the previous 12 months in the city of Antioch, or adults who are on active probation and have a minimum of 2 misdemeanor arrests in the previous 12 months in Antioch. We receive our referrals from AP and Contra Costa County Probation Department. Immediately following or in lieu of a misdemeanor arrest or technical violation of their probation. So you're kind of wondering why we're talking about diversion at Homelessness Task Force. So we definitely see an intersection between our project, which deals primarily with diversion, and the homelessness issue in Antioch and Contra Costa County as a whole. So due to the expansion of the eligibility criteria for our project, beyond the original lead model, misdemeanor arrests for PC 602, which is trespassing, can also make one eligible for our program. So our early observations have indicated a correlation between arrests for trespassing in Antioch and homelessness. Our population has a high behavioral health and housing, or have high behavioral health and housing needs. So some early data that we have, we've been receiving referrals from Antioch Police Department since July of last year, and today we've received 72 referrals. Of those 72 referred, 53 or 73% of them have had a history that included at least 1 arrest for trespassing. We also began enrolling those referred individuals in July of last year, and today we've enrolled 35 in our program. And of those 35, 26 of them have had a history that included at least 1 arrest for trespassing. And of the 35 enrolled, 27 individuals have been identified as transient, which is living outside in a car or any other place that's not meant for human habitation. So the interventions that CoCo Lead Plus utilizes to address some of these needs is we try to facilitate connections between the client and county service access points such as the core team, 211, the behavioral health access line, employment and human services, and the local medical grant. And we attempt to address the needs that contribute to homelessness. So these are the underlying correlations or causes. And those are behavioral health challenges, including mental health and substance use, physical health, employment and benefits, and family conflicts. And we also strive to develop solutions with county and community-based housing organizations utilizing our own project funding. Some of those resources are housing navigation and master lease units in East County for a total of 10 beds. Further interventions, this is kind of the on-the-ground work that we do. We engage individuals using a non-threatening and trauma-informed approach. We meet individuals where they're at, not just mentally or psychologically, but also physically. So we go out into encampments, we meet folks in parking lots, curbside, and even within some of the custodial settings in the county. We try to move beyond our outreach and incorporate our services in the field. So what that looks like is the CoCo Lead Plus providers actually bring their work and their expertise to the people in the field. We conduct assessments, we provide counseling, peer support, and case management out in the field. So in these settings, the encampments, the parking lots, the curbside. We coordinate transportation or provide transportation assistance to and from appointments with other providers that operate out of offices or central sites. And we institute our CBT groups and restorative justice circles at sites that are scattered across the city and the county. While it's still early in the life of the CoCo Lead Plus grant, we still have through August of 2021. Our observations indicate that there are definite correlations between homelessness and justice system involvement, particularly misdemeanor arrests for trespassing. We also see a need for increased collaboration between public and private organizations to address homelessness. We see a need to increase investment in local housing providers. And we believe that homelessness must be addressed holistically, meaning that we need to serve the whole person and not just the housing issue. So that means behavioral health care, physical health care, working with folks that are reentering or reintegrating into society, supporting folks through family reunification, and providing peer support through that process. And finally, we just wanted to thank you as a whole, speaking for CoCo Lead Plus, for the opportunity to serve Contra Costa County and the city of Antioch. Thank you.
All right, Steve, blow us away.
Okay, here we go. Good morning, I'm Steve Ponte, Chief Operating Officer, Eastern Contra Costa Transit Authority, also known as Tri-Delta Transit. We are tasked with providing services and options to every resident of Eastern Contra Costa County. So the homeless issue is one that we take very seriously, but we can't give more of one community than the other. So one of the things that happens is there's really 4 areas of concern. One is on the bus, one is bus stop location, the others are our facilities, and the 4th is advocacy. So I'll talk about on the bus first. If you've ever ridden the bus during school bell times, and you get 60 high school kids on a bus, you know that you don't want to ride that bus ever again. So unfortunately with the homeless, it gets to be the same issue as some of our riders, that bags of recycling, bags of clothes, hygiene, and these people get on the bus and they don't want to ride anymore because of who was on the bus. And current passengers not wanting to ride the bus is a big issue for us, so we try and do what we can, to make sure that everybody is in a safe, comfortable environment. We have everyday issues. Passengers get on the bus and they want to yell and scream about how they deserve to have a free ride. We're saving Contra Costa Fire District down here a little bit because passengers at the end of the night, when they get off of our train, they hop our bus, ride 2 hours to the end of the line, wait for an hour, and then grab a ride home. So we have homeless issues on our buses all day long. They use it as a warranting station. They use it to someplace to go. And of course, panhandling on the bus is an issue too. We try and curb that. Bus stop locations is a big concern of ours. We try and put shelters in very convenient locations for everybody. And homeless individuals decide to move into our shelters, and businesses and the police department ask us to A, remove the shelters, or B, remove the seats. And when we do that, then our senior and disabled community are left out in the sun or they have no place to sit. So it's a continual balancing act to make sure that one group is not treated any worse or any better than the other. So it really puts us in a bad spot when we try and find a location that makes everybody happy. So we remove benches, we remove stops, and every time we do that, there's always a backlash. Good example is right across the street from Rayleigh's on Lone Tree. That stop used to be back about a block away. It was kind of tucked away in bushes, and the city requested, and the owner of the building requested we move it over to in front of Rayleigh's. Well, now I have to send somebody there twice a day to clean that stop. So there's like 10 stops in our service area that are visited twice a day because of the debris and the mess left at these stops. And of course, when have somebody come up to the stop and there's a homeless guy there or a homeless person there, with someone in our community, the first thing that pops in their head is fear. What's this person going to do to me? So they won't ride the bus. They'll take another option, Uber or Lyft or some other option instead of riding the bus. We're working hard with the police departments in all our areas to make sure that we can move them along, so to speak. If you're sitting at a bus stop for an hour, it's time to go. It's time to let somebody else enjoy that shelter. Community safety and security. I mean, we own a piece of property, and I'm trying to get some homeless individuals off my property currently, but there's so many laws and regulations that I just can't go up there and say, get out. I have to notify them, I have to wait 30 days, I have to hold their property for 30 days. So that takes a lot of staff time, it takes a lot of city resources, it takes a lot of police resources. And then even encampments close to our property. Advocacy is a big issue. And when I say advocacy, that's internal advocacy and external advocacy. So I'm sitting here as a manager of a public transit agency, trying to make sure that services are put along route locations. It's the craziest thing. They put a school out in the middle of nowhere, and then they expect us to serve it. So I would have to pat the city of Antioch on the back. Tavora Gardens was a perfect example. That they put this real close to services, and it's right there. The only problem is that they did not think about ADA transportation or paratransit service buses. So when I first got the plans, the plan did not include any way for our bus to get on property to pick these individuals up. And it's like, what are you doing? So we had a nice long talk with the developer. He made some design changes so that we could actually get our buses on the property. I hear a lot about housing. Yes, it's important, but after you get into a house, you need a way to get around. And if properties are put and services are put along bus routes that are currently there, the odds are that bus route is going to be there. If you put a service out in Bethel Island, you're not going to get anything out there. So we're always constantly, and the city works with us well, to say, here's where we need to put our bus stops. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm not used to using the mic because I'm usually the loudest person in the room. Ironically, I'm Jacklin Higgins. I'm a librarian with Contra Costa County Library right here in Antioch. Contra Costa County Library is all about bringing people and ideas together. So when we were approached by the Contra Costa Healthcare Services about having community healthcare workers on site to provide referrals and information, we said yes. We have two programs that I'd like to tell you about today in the city of Antioch. Every third Thursday from 1:30 to 4, we have a Contra Costa County Healthcare community worker on site at the library downtown here, 501 West 18th Street, to offer referrals and information. We really appreciate having these workers come out to the library. It's a really great opportunity to provide these services to the community. In Concord, where they have two, Lorna, correct me if I'm wrong, they have a warming center and a homeless shelter in Concord, huge population. The librarian there at Concord, Kimberly Buckley, got together with some of the workers and said, how can we provide information to not only the homeless community, but also to people living in the community about homeless services. She developed what's called Coffee and Conversation. That is a program that is also held in Antioch now, every third Thursday from 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock. It's for community providers, government providers. Many of the folks that you saw mentioned here today come together every third Thursday at 3 o'clock to talk about services. We also welcome those consumers or people in the need in the community to come and get information and resources, and we welcome the public to come in and ask questions. That's all I have for you today.
Well, thank you.
Very much.
So I will be the holder of the mic.
Michael, I just wanted to ask you, you spoke about individuals when you go out and find that there's a need for them to have shelter. Where do you go as far as access to beds? I mean, what's your first place that, say you're in Antioch, you've got somebody who needs shelter, where do you go?
So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to assess the individual to see what shelter would be best for them. If it's a family shelter, we can connect with Shepherd's Gate in the Brentwood area, Mountain View House in Martinez, Grip Family Shelter in Richmond, and the Bay Area Rescue Mission. We also connect people with transitional housing, such as Love a Child. And if it's a single adult, we actually have direct access to all the county shelter beds at Brookside Shelter in Richmond and the Concord Shelter in Concord. So there's 75 beds in Concord, and we do have the capacity to go up to 20 emergency cots there. And at Richmond, we have 89 shelter beds with the capabilities of going into 5 emergency cots.
And how long can they stay there?
So they can stay at the Concord or Brookside Shelter for 120 days. We can extend past that 120 days based on necessity and vulnerability and what the person is doing currently in their housing plan. So if somebody has housing in the next 30 days and we're in the process of securing that housing, we can extend until that person goes into the housing that they have secured. You're welcome.
So I have a question for the fire department. So when you mentioned EMS services, oh, I guess I do need the microphone. I'm sorry.
Yeah, talk about sort of doing EMS services as well. And so I'm curious to know of those calls for service, where does someone experiencing homelessness in the city of Antioch go if someone calls for a medical emergency?
The transport for EMS calls is the patient, whether you're homeless or anybody, is the patient is king or queen. You can determine what hospital you want to go to within reason. If it's a trauma call, we have certain protocol. But generally, you're going to go to Kaiser Antioch. Out here, you're going to generally go to Kaiser Antioch or Southern Delta would be your 2 locations. But you can, within reason, we will take you elsewhere if the person, the individual has a request for that.
I'm going to ask you folks to line up right here if you want to ask a question.
My question's not at anyone in particular, but people in the know. I keep hearing the phrase, and I'm not sure exactly how it's stated, fit for human habitation. I want to know what the exact definition of that is, and I say this as a person who enjoys camping by choice, but then I always have bathrooms and water and a car, all kind of things. But I just wondered what the definition of that is. Thank you.
So we're looking at places not meant for habitation as somewhere that doesn't have running water.
A place that does not have running water or electricity and bathroom facilities.
Has to have electricity.
That's where we would, a place for human habitation that would be fit would be electricity, access to utilities, bathroom, and
Thank you.
I don't know our definition, quite honestly.
Yes, ma'am.
My question is for Assistant Chief Carey. Thank you for your service. What type of foreseeable solution do you think can be implemented for the end of line issue that we're having at night? Maybe some leverage resources from the core team. I know they have transportation and things like that.
Thank you. That's a great question, and it's a regional-wide question. And Mr. Sandoval. It would have been great if he was here from Ponte. I believe it's Mr. Sandoval, because I've discussed with him. It's a regional-wide issue, whether you're in Millbrae, in the line there. We cover our ambulances are covered in Richmond and Pittsburgh, Antioch, Bay Point stations. So what we are trying to do is work with BART, number one, on their wider issue. Obviously, they're stretched on their resources. The second thing for me, as I'm in charge of the ambulances as well, is just a common sense is, can we get to these individuals before they become patients? There's a big difference between a person and a patient in our business, because if you become a patient, we have protocols we have to follow. So one of the things that I would like to see us work on, and we're looking at trying to do it, is having on winter nights when it's cold and we know we're going to have a lot of those transports, is having transportation available at midnight, 1 in the morning, they're at the end of the line offering rides to the shelter to these individuals that are in need. Because if we can offer that, then they're not going to have the medical emergency, which then causes them to be transported in an ambulance, which is more costly and ties up more resources. So that's something that we are working on, but it's a regional-wide issue with all of the partners.
I do want to mention that we do have a core team that's funded by the Barrier Rapid Transit Park, and their main duty is the end-of-the-line stations in Antioch, Pittsburgh, Bay Point, Concord, Richmond, and El Cerrito. So when the trains are asleep at the end of the night, our team is there offering homeless services to those individuals. We do have people who still say we don't want homeless services, we need to be transported to the hospital, at which point the phone call to EMS is made. But we are there transporting people into our warning center, into our care centers, and then making assessments.
And I'm not sure who this is for, but when it comes to substance abuse, where are those referred to? Do we have services in the county that are directly helping people that have addiction?
That is a great question. So the standard pathway for an individual to receive substance use disorder treatment in the county would be to contact the Behavioral Health Access Line. They can do that on their own, or in the situation where it's such as our program or similar programs where they have a case manager, they can do that along with their case manager or a service provider of some kind. We can kind of walk them through that process. The county has, I wish a representative from AODS was here and they could speak a little bit more at length about the services that are available. However, the county does have numerous residential and outpatient programs, intensive outpatient programs that are available to folks, but they have to make that initial call. And the county does strive to geographically, or to place people in programs that are fitting geographically. So if someone is calling from East County, the hope is that they would be able to get into a residential or outpatient program somewhere in East County. However, bed space is extremely limited, and the wait times can be 2 to 3 weeks for someone to enter treatment.
My question is, so what is this? How dependent, particularly for health, right? How dependent is housing on the success rate of having someone not been re-enter the criminal justice system?
Another great question. So, we're a very young project. We've only been enrolling folks for about 10 months. And we've actually just brought online a nonprofit partner, Contra Costa Housing, who is handling the master lease units and the housing navigation services funded by our project. And we're in the process of moving 2 clients into our first unit next week. So in less than 7 days, we're actually in 2 women. One of them was living in a tent, and the other, who has been residing at the Riverside shelter for about 4 months. They will be entering housing for the first time in years. And these are individuals that were referred to our program because of trespassing arrests. They were sleeping outside. There's a lot of other compounding issues, so they might have an arrest history that includes other things. However, being homeless was one of the primary reasons they were referred to our project. So our hope, and we hope to have some data that support this as the grant progresses over the next year or two, but our hope is that we can provide some data that will support that conclusion that housing will help reduce recidivism.
And so how long is the housing in this instance? How long are they allowed to be?
So for the master leasing situation, since we're going through August of 2021, our contract and our budget is stretched out that far. So these individuals that are entering into these master lease beds will be able to stay there until the exhaustion of the grant. However, I will add that the purpose of utilizing master leasing as opposed to the traditional transitional housing or silver living environment model is that the idea is that these folks are able to then have an income over the course of some months, whether that be through disability or through employment, and then at the end of their master lease, they can then assume the lease from the nonprofit provider and do what we call transition in place, which is they keep their housing, they stay in the same place, but now they are on the lease as opposed to the agency.
I like that. Run.
I'll make it quick just because of my phone. Hi. So I just wanted to ask really quick if you have or if you can highlight a better advisement for individuals who find homeless encampments or want to help someone who has maybe ventured onto their property. How they, I don't know, right now the protocol seems to just be to call law enforcement. Do you have a first point of contact that you would recommend?
So we would recommend calling 211 and allowing.
Forgot.
Yeah, so we would recommend calling 211 and connecting with our core team so that our core team can come out and start the engagement and offer the services that are available. Reason being, when law enforcement does come in on the abatement, then they're going to be moved from the area, and we want to make sure that we're offering all the different access points to the people before they're moved from that area. That way they have the opportunity to succeed.
So just to add on to what Michael said, I would just echo that to contact 211 and under the hopes that the core team would be available to come out and assist folks if there's any equipment going on or if there's any issues. And the reason I say that, not only does that really work, but the core team works very closely with providers in the county, such as my program and many other programs. They know our case managers by first name. We talk every day. And so in those instances, CORE can then reach out to their networks and they can contact the case managers or the primary service providers that are connected to those individuals. And then we can just have that much more support go out in the field and kind of assist people through that process.
Just one last question. For the core team, the mobile medical that comes around, is that through the core team, through the county? I mean, once you have a relationship with somebody, they they're in need of diabetes or any medication and stuff, is it through you that they provide the services, and how do you continue that service to make sure that they're getting the medicine they need?
So this is a health services department partnership with Healthcare for the Homeless. So Healthcare for the Homeless is the mobile operator of the unit. And the core team goes out to assist Healthcare for the Homeless in locating people who may be in need of the medical services, taking the homeless unit to the different areas that people are residing, and then setting up areas in the Antioch area that are frequented by people who may need the homeless medical services. So if somebody is prescribed medication from that appointment, then the core team can go with that person and get the medication from the local Walgreens or CVS, and then provide the extra support to follow-up appointments or whatever necessary to make sure that somebody is stabilized.
So those are free to them?
Yeah, free of charge. and free dental as well.
So I have one last question, and it's a kind of a two-part question. So in the last overview, we kind of got an overview of the county's budget dedicated to some of these issues. So we'll eliminate you from this answer. But if you can look at it from a budgetary standpoint, look at the total operating budget. If you, and I'm sure you don't have an exact number, but if you can make an estimate of how much you're now then investing in dealing with the impacts of the growing number of the growing crisis in homelessness from the vantage point of your specific agency. So everyone has to answer this question.
Go, Rob. So the grant that CoCo Weed Plus operates under is just under $6 million that was allocated to Contra Costa County. And of that $6 million, approximately $4 million is passed through. So those are dollars that are coming through the county and going directly to service providers on the ground. And of that $4 million, approximately $1 million is dedicated solely to housing just through the CoCo Weed Plus project. And about, I would say, 2/3 of that $1 million is directly to housing related costs. So we're talking rent, utilities, security deposits, furnishings, move-in costs, food for the home, pots and pans, everything.
That's a tough question, only because we service the entire community. Just to put a number on it, we do $21 million a year in operating, and it's mostly salaries. And I would assume we're in the $2 million range for homeless.
I have no idea what the budget of the Contra Costa Library is, but I can tell you on the third Thursday of the month for coffee conversation, I spend about $20 at the Lucky for cookies, and I make Trader Joe's coffee, and I have lots of coffee pack for Jane.
Someone's got to eat the cookies. That's a great answer. God bless you for that. You know, I was hoping to slide in and nobody was going to notice that I didn't answer that. I'm sitting here and I honestly really don't know, other than I would just say that the concern for us isn't the dollar amount, it's just the use of resources where they can be better utilized. For example, in Antioch, if we have people tied up on this gentleman on the side of the freeway, 2 of your companies that serve your community, is that's 2 less resources that can be going on a fire that we can attack and put out before it gets larger, or another medical emergency that we can get to more quickly. So, you know, really taking a simple swag at it, I would say it's probably about 5%. So, thank you. I'll let you ask one more question, but our last question as a committee is, as we're gathering information, what one thing do you think we need to really consider as a city council as we tackle these are tough issues, so I get them. So think about that, but I'm going to allow a member of the public, my favorite member of the public, here to see to ask the last one.
This is a question specifically for Jacklin. Having worked in libraries myself, I know that if I were homeless, I would spend a lot of hours at the library when it's open. And I suspect that you do spend some of your hours helping people, and I wonder if there's any kind of situations that become uncomfortable or any public complaints and that kind of thing. What could happen? That's my, you can guide.
One of the best things about working at the library is we help everyone. And one of the most challenging things about working at the library is we help everyone. I was at the State of the City meeting the other day, and Mayor Wright was talking about a lady with kids living in her car, and she had no place to go during the day. And I wanted to go, come to the library. So during our open hours, we welcome everyone in the public, and we have one standard of behavior policy for everyone. So every single person is treated exactly the same in the library, It doesn't matter what their housing status is or anything else, everybody follows the same rules. And we have not had a lot of problems. We have had really great people coming in getting information. We've had really great turnouts for our coffee conversation. We'd like to see more people come in for information from the healthcare for the homeless workers. And we value any input or questions that you have. There's flyers on the table too.
Thank you.
Our one issue would be wherever you put services, they're on a heavily used corridor and they're accessible to all.
I think I would say the biggest concern or the biggest issue that should be tackled, and I'm by no means a housing expert, but being a project manager, I've been charged with finding housing resources in Antioch in East County, and it took me a year. It took my team a year to find a housing provider, and the reason for that was because of capacity. There just wasn't any capacity. And the other kind of half to that is liquidity. We had no shortage of folks that were interested and that were capable of providing those services. However, because our product is cost reimbursement, they didn't have the capital up front to go out and secure units to provide these services. And so being able to have that liquidity and being able to build capacity rather rapidly are the two things.
So I want to say that people are in the city of Antioch because this is where they call home for the most part. They grew up in the area. This is the area where their family lives. This is the area where their friends live, and this is the area that they feel safe. So it's a testament to the city of Antioch and the community, allowing people to feel safe in the community. And one thing that I would recommend is bringing the faith-based community and the community into this picture and this talk, because the answer lies in bringing the community together. It's going to take a village to get to the bottom of the issue. And there's a lot of people out there that want to help, and they have no idea how to help. So how do we pull them together and make it a place?
I would just say shelter, a shelter with resources at that shelter, whether that's a physician's assistant or a nurse, etc. I think that would be would just work wonders from our view. Thank you.
John?